Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Craig, and I'm back. Well, something different, something I haven't done in a while on this channel. Um, I mean to do more of them, obviously, and I did a lot last year. We got a movie review, and I want to try to be careful with this review because it was actually the director of this movie we're about to talk about, one of the writers. I looked into it, looks like he'd done it, you know, sure he did just a little bit of something about everything on this film. Um, Matt Frame reached out to me, and he said he saw some of my other videos, and he's like, "Hey, man, like, would you do me a favor? Send you a copy of my movie screener. Um, check it out. Give me honest feedback. Post a video about." Which I'm frauded because who am I? And I've YouTube wise, thankfully, I've had this opportunity a couple other times sneak up, but this is the first time when I think the guy who actually made the movie reached out to me, which is badass. But I did say, I'll check it out, but I'll be honest, it's not I'm not gonna necessarily say I love something if I don't. Same thing. If I like it, I'll tell you how much I like it. And I actually had this had gone away from me a little bit time wise, and he touched everyone back that he'd reached out to recently, and he said, "Hey, status update. We've won a few awards. We're on the film circuit. We've accepted to 13 film festivals. Awesome. And they're trying to up their number a little bit more as far as reviews go, because I guess they'll make distribution easy. I don't know how my YouTube stuff factors in that, but maybe it does. Either way, it's going to spread the word on a movie that ultimately you're about to hear something positive about. Doesn't mean there's not a few things I'm going to nitpick here and there, but thumbs up, thumbs down. I definitely give a thumbs up. What is the movie? Burying the Reed. I'm like, no, I'm not, because you saw a thumbnail, so you know the title. So there. Um, Camp 3 in 2D. Is that? It's a shame. It's like I want to make sure I say that right. Camp 3 in 2D. Um, and the one thing about Camp Death 3 in 2D. There is no Camp Death 2. There is no Camp Death 1. People might be like, oh, I don't like that gimmick, but I love that gimmick in other movies. The one where I liked it the best, and they definitely treated it in a similar fashion, although a different, unique. It's not, as Dude Bro Party Massacre 3. In Dude Bro Party Massacre 3, there was no 1 or 2, but they did give you like scenes from the first two, so you can go see what happened. Same as this one. You saw it happen the first one, you saw it happen the second one, and then ultimately you're watching the third one. The one thing is, though, this Camp Death 3 in 2D, they absolutely, and he told me as much when he reached out to me, absolutely pays huge homage to the Friday the 13th series. So, for instance, in Camp Death 1, guess who the killer is? The mother. In Camp Death 2, guess how they stopped Jason? Or, not Jason, Van Damme, Johan Van Damme. Guess how they stop him? And I'm looking to my phone because I actually took a bunch of notes because a lot of things sort of jumped out to me as funny. But guess how they stop him? They stop him with a puppet. The puppet, instead of the head of the mom, it's a puppet. And then 3, definitely, I won't spoil 3 because that, goes in a very unusual way. Something that would have made the original Friday the 13th Part 2 seem very, very strange. But the homage they pay it just doesn't end there. There's similar characters. There's a Doomsayer character. Instead of Ralph, it's Ethel. There's a Shelby character. There's a few other things. This would almost be a fun drinking game. Watch this movie every time you pick up Friday the 13th reference. Take a shot. Um, if you're a big movie fan, you're gonna probably wind up in a bad way at the end. But let me tell you what I liked. What I definitely liked about this movie. Um, it was knowledgeable of the horror genre in general. So since it is satirical, it did a decent job with a lot of the satires. And it by no means was Friday the 13th the only thing it played around with. It actually, I think it tried playing around with Three Point Camp a little bit and multiple characters. It played around with, well, I'll just say this. There was a groundskeeper, okay? You're watching a horror movie. What should the groundskeeper's names be? So figure it out. I'm sure you know it. It was one letter off from the one you would expect. So that was good. Like the the other elements that were good, like the characters were all horror trope characters. Like they really did like they made sure there were one note characters, which isn't necessarily a bad thing in a horror film because that's sort of how that works. It's like, okay, this is the nerd, this is the thug. Although the one person who came off as a thug at one point in time, they break out in a singing montage, which I thought was freaking fantastic. Because they take Camp Crystal meth um, and turn it into a camp for mentally challenged, or instead of what it was. Now, I also like the fact that this movie's somewhat unfiltered. At least language-wise, it's unfiltered. They say a lot of inappropriate things. The like, but I'm gonna just tell you something from the movie. I don't necessarily love this terminology, but like the uncle who's supposed to be that guy at one point in time is like, "You turn this into a Todd petting zoo, yada yada," and things like that. Or there's a scene where a guy in a wheelchair goes up to a set of steps and it says handicap restricted. Like little things like that, which is kind of screwed up, but definitely fits what you're looking for in a satire. I like that. I like some of the characters. The head two counselors are good. The female who was the original survivor, who actually had a backstory similar to the girl from Friday the 13th Part 3, where she met Jason when he was younger and then passed out and didn't know what happened. And then it also, the Reed character, actually, the head guy reminded me a little bit of a almost Jim Carrey-esque type, when he was younger with some of the facial stuff he did, which I like that too. So that was fine. Um, and then all the side characters, all the additional ones were good. The one was a little bit like the Sleepaway Camp. The mean girl who got killed, like, she's like, "You fuck with me, I'll fuck with you," and then she got taken out with a toaster. So creative, creative kills, as well, which I did like in that regard. I'll be honest. Another thing I like before I do that is not only did it do satire of horror stuff, but there was and I'm not a Star Wars aficionado by any means. I believe there was an Empire Strike Back scene, not Empire Strike Back, Return of the Jedi scene, where they're on the like chasing each other through the forest on those speed bike things. If you're telling me it's one of the other movies, I buy it. It is. I don't know. I saw them a long time ago, but that was interesting and sort of gimmick and fun at the same time. There was also little paid homage to Caddyshack, which I think it even talks about in the poster a bit. Maybe that went a little extreme, but ultimately they kept calling a groundhog a squirrel and a beaver a groundhog, and a beaver at the end got his comeuppance too. But that's you can see that for yourself. So all those things are things to like. Stuff I didn't necessarily love is this is definitely a low budget film, which is fine because low budget films can be awesome. But there was a mix of practical and special effect and digital effects, like CGI type stuff. And you could tell when they're overlaying each other. I think it would have been better if they tried to stick more practical at times, and then it just I think it'll look better. In some places, it wasn't bad, but some things would just look better. Like, a guy getting his head taken off with a weed whacker, where you just see some blood spray and then all of a sudden it sort of goes away. It's like, you know what, just do it, put blood, make it messy. You don't need the head to vanish, and I think the scene will be just as interesting. Because they actually did some disturbing things with chocolate, that made me look away for a little while, like melty Charleston chews, which I think also reminded me of Ferris Bueller, because the girl's like, "Hey, Charleston chew, I kept it warm under my arm." I think of Ferris Bueller with the gummy bears. Warm gummy bears, they were in my pocket. Um, so that wasn't. I would have liked the kills done a little better, and I will say it's a spoof, it's a satire, it's exactly what it's supposed to be, and it covered all that. But it definitely spiraled out a little bit much. Like the big reveal ending, like there's one element there that's like, what now? That's huh? Like really? And then why are you in a Santa suit? And a couple other things like that. But again, it's a spoof, so I can't look at it with the same eyes, with the same lens that I would look at something that wasn't a spoof. Now, I intentionally avoided telling you a lot of Like, there's a lot of good jokes. There's a lot of good one-liners in this. There's a lot of good things that'll make a horror fan sort of chuckle. Like I said, I mentioned a puppet, but wait till you see, some of the things that they do with that puppet and stuff like that too. Like, it's definitely worth watching. And I'll be honest with you, I could see myself rewatching at some point. Not anytime soon, but it's definitely a movie that, if somebody came over, I had a copy of, and it's like, hey, I want to watch something, but I don't want to watch anything too heavy. I would say we get it put on. Now, the thing that will probably help this movie, and probably hurt it at the same time with some horror fans, is aside from the offensive language that some, the whole retarded things, etc. Like, there's not really cursing. Um, there's no nudity. And when they attempt at making out a little bit, even that is sort of overdone. So it's definitely, I imagine, would be like a TV-14 type thing, which means it could maybe sell itself to sci-fi, which would be awesome for them, I imagine. Um, I would have liked to have seen what they would have done with a little more gore, or a little more. And again, I'm not saying gore and nudity are necessary in movies. They're not. Okay, I know some people go overboard with that. However, when you're spoofing Friday the 13th, and it is a spoof on 1, 2, and 3, and you don't have any sex, like, like, that's a big part of Friday the 13th movies that's not being spoofed. Like, there's no one kill one character, because like I said, when do characters get killed in Friday the 13th? When they're having sex. In this case, the closest that came to was two characters who were making out, like, and they got killed, like, and then making out was really in a unique way as far as the way the camera interacted with it. But overall, okay, I definitely would say, if you have a chance to see this movie, one, support it, because supporting low budget films, I think, opens up a lot of opportunities that otherwise might not be there for movie and filmmakers, etc. Um, Also, it's fun. If I Friday the 13th, you'll enjoy this. You'll enjoy picking out the references, and I'm sure there's a bunch of things in it that I didn't pick up. That'd be like, if I watch it again, I'd be like, oh, that's like, oh, that character there. Yes, yeah. I mean, something else I didn't even really think of at the time. You do have a character in a wheelchair. Now, it's a little bit different than the character he had in the wheelchair in part 2 or part 3. Part 3. Part 3. Anyway, when he goes down the stairs, when he goes rolling down the stairs, and one of the better probably kills in the whole series, when he gets like the machete to the head. But even that, another sort of connection. Recommend watching it. Definitely gets a thumbs up. I looked at IMDb. I want to say IMDb had it like 6.8. I don't know how many views that is. Maybe, I would imagine it's, since it's not officially out yet, it's not a huge number. But I don't think that's a. I don't think that's a. Um, Here's why I don't. I think that's a fair number for them. 6.8. Usually IMDb is like, for movies like this would be low, when I'd say, oh, you got to add a couple, because that's how it is. Horror movies, people always anti them a little bit. But if this ended, if this was, let's say, 4.8, I'd be like, you know what? To me, that's a 6 something. That's fine. You watch it, it's fun. Enjoy it. So check it out if you get a chance. I don't know the vehicle in which it's going to be released. I know, theatrical, via video on demand, more other festivals, small release. I'm not sure about that. But one of the reasons I'm doing this, and I realize how long it's getting. One of the reasons I'm doing this is because, again, I want to support anybody and everybody that endeavors to do this. Because, one, I wish I could. I wish I had in me. I wish I had the time, or the ability to sort of make a movie and follow that to fruition. So I give Matt Frame is the only one I talked to. I give him a ton of credit. And to anyone that hasn't seen the movie, let me know. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me, etc.? And if you haven't seen the movie and you haven't even heard of the movie, look for it. It'll be available eventually, and I think it'll be a fun watch for you. So that said, folks, thanks for checking out my video. I do intend on doing more of these reviews. It's just one of those things, time wise gets you. Maybe over the holidays, I'll pump in a few. I personally am ecstatic. I got 5 days off coming soon. Which is going to be amazing. Not for a couple weeks, but still, that'll be great. Anyway, you all have a good one. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, well, there's no reason not to like it, right? Just trying to get some love out there for people. But if you're not subbed to me and you want to be, then it's really easy to do. Just hit that button. Anyway, have yourself a good one. Bye.